I should have known the night would go wrong the moment I walked into the dining room. The air felt heavier than usual, tense with an unspoken weight. Mom's eyes didn't soften when she looked at me. Instead, they darted quickly to Greg, the man she married barely a year after Dad passed. He gave me a thin smile, the kind that never reached his eyes. His kids, Lily and Jason, sat across the table, smirking like they had already won something I didn't know I was competing for. Dinner had just begun when Mom's fork clinked against her glass. The sound was sharp, deliberate, and final. "Emma," she said, her voice unnervingly calm, "maybe it's time you think about moving out. Things have shifted. This is a family home now, and Greg's kids need their space." Her words landed like a punch to the chest. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. A family home? This was my home. Dad's home. The house he had built piece by piece, filling it with laughter, his tools, his memories. And now, in one sentence, she was asking me to erase myself from it because Greg and his kids felt uncomfortable. I forced myself to stay seated, though my knuckles whitened as I gripped the edge of my chair. "You mean leave?" I asked, my voice barely steady. The room went silent except for the sound of Lily's knife scraping deliberately against her plate, her smirk widening as though she was savoring the drama. Greg leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table like a judge about to pass sentence. "Emma, it's not personal. But this house needs order, respect. The kids need to feel at home, and right now, well, it feels like you're holding on to the past. The past." That was how they talked about Dad now. As if he were nothing more than a faded photograph, an inconvenience they were trying to pack away in some dusty attic. My chest tightened. I was 15 when he died. I remember the will reading like it happened yesterday. Dad's lawyer sliding the papers across the desk, his voice steady. "Everything goes to Emma. The house, the savings, the assets. It was your father's wish." Mom had nodded back then, silent, unreadable. I didn't understand the weight of it at the time. I just knew Dad wanted me safe, protected. But now Mom was using the same house as a bargaining chip, as if my father's promise didn't matter. I looked around the table, searching for even a flicker of sympathy. Mom's eyes were cold, Greg's face unreadable. Lily and Jason were practically glowing with satisfaction. That was the moment after that night, things only got worse. It started subtly, the kind of changes that you almost convince yourself are accidental. My father's photographs, once lining the hallway, were quietly replaced by framed pictures of Lily and Jason's soccer tournaments and piano recitals. His old leather chair, the one he used to sink into every evening with a tired smile, vanished, replaced by Greg's oversized recliner. When I asked where it had gone, Mom brushed me off. "It was falling apart, Emma, don't be so dramatic." But it wasn't just a chair. It was his. Soon dinners became unbearable. Greg carved out his place at the head of the table, a spot that had always belonged to Dad. Mom sat beside him, laughing at his jokes, while Lily and Jason filled the air with stories of their friends and accomplishments. Whenever I tried to speak, the table went quiet, like my words didn't belong. Once, when I interrupted Jason's bragging about his new car, Greg turned to me with that same cold smile. "Emma," he said, "there's a certain respect we need in this house. I don't tolerate rudeness. If you can't be polite, maybe you shouldn't join us for dinner." Mom didn't defend me. She never did anymore. Instead, she lowered her eyes and sipped her wine like I wasn't even there. From that night on, they started forgetting to invite me. Weekend trips to the lake house, amusement park outings, even simple movie nights in the living room. I'd come downstairs to find them curled up on the couch, popcorn in bowls, lights dimmed. Lily would glance at me with mock pity. "Sorry, Emma, no more room on the couch." I stopped asking, but the silence of my room, the house that used to echo with Dad's laughter, became unbearable. Every corner whispered with memories I wasn't allowed to keep. I started noticing receipts in the trash, contractors for renovations Greg wanted, expensive purchases for his kids, all written in Mom's name. It didn't take long for me to realize what was happening. They were building their life, their future, with everything my father left behind. One night, I overheard them in the kitchen. "She's holding us back," Greg muttered, his voice sharp. "That inheritance should be shared. It's not fair she has everything while we struggle." Mom's reply was softer, hesitant, but it cut deeper than any shout. "I know, but the will is airtight. Unless she decides to give us part of it." Her voice trailed off as if waiting for me to do the unthinkable, surrender the last piece of dad I had left. That's when the reality settled in. They didn't just dislike me. It all came to a head the night of Mom's birthday dinner. Relatives filled the house, laughter and chatter spilling through the rooms like a celebration I wasn't a part of. I had dressed carefully, hoping maybe, just maybe, tonight would be different. Maybe Mom would remember that I was her daughter too. The dining room smelled of roasted chicken and garlic bread, the kind of meal Dad used to make for special occasions. I carried a small gift bag, a necklace I'd saved up for, something delicate and thoughtful. I wanted her to see me, to know I still cared, but the moment I walked in, I felt it. Eyes shifted toward me, whispers crawling across the table. Lily and Jason smirked openly, their plates already piled high. Greg sat tall at the head of the table, his hand resting on Mom's like he owned the place. I slid into an empty chair, but before I could even settle, Mom's fork clinked against her glass. That sound again, sharp, deliberate. "Emma," she said, her voice too steady, too rehearsed. "We need to talk, and since everyone is here, it's best we do this openly." My stomach dropped. I hadn't touched my food, but nausea already curled in my gut. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Greg leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "This house doesn't feel like a home with all this tension. The kids?" He gestured toward Lily and Jason, who smiled like cats with cream. "They don't feel comfortable. And honestly, neither do we." The room went quiet. Forks hovered midair. Mom cleared her throat, but she didn't look at me when she spoke. "Emma, maybe it's time you found your own place." "You're old enough. You need to grow up, move on. Let us have peace." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. "Move on?" My voice cracked. "This is Dad's house, my house. He left it to me." Her eyes flashed, not with guilt, but with irritation. "Don't throw that in my face. We're a family, and you're making it impossible to live together. You cling to the past. You make everything about your father." My chest burned, fury mixing with heartbreak. "Because he was everything. And you—" I stopped, my voice trembling too hard to finish. Greg slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. You will not disrespect your mother in this house. If you can't follow the rules, then you don't belong here." The words stung more than a slap. My gaze darted around the table, searching for someone, anyone, to defend me. But all I saw were averted eyes, pitying stares, and the smug satisfaction of my so-called step-siblings. Mom's final words cut the deepest. Cold, sharp, final. "You're not welcome here anymore, Emma. Pack your things." The gift bag slipped from my hand, the necklace clattering to the floor. Nobody moved to pick it up. Nobody. Yet the night I left, I carried nothing but a duffel bag and the echo of Mom's words still stinging in my ears. "You're not welcome here anymore." They rang louder than my footsteps as I walked down the driveway, past the glow of the windows that once meant home. My grandparents' porch light flicked on the second I stepped onto their street. Grandma opened the door, her arms already wide, and for the first time in months I let myself collapse into someone's embrace. No judgment. No conditions. Just love. They didn't ask for details that night. They didn't need to. One look at my face told them everything. Grandpa set my bag down in the guest room and said softly, "This is your home now, for as long as you need." For weeks I slept like I hadn't in years. No whispers through the walls, no cold glares at the dinner table. Just warmth, pancakes in the morning, and the faint hum of Grandpa's radio drifting through the house. It wasn't just shelter, it was healing, but the ache didn't fade. Every time I thought of Dad, of the house he built and left for me, anger bubbled in my chest. That place wasn't just four walls and a roof. It was his legacy, his promise, and they had turned it into a stage for my humiliation. Grandma noticed the fire in my eyes one evening when I sat hunched over the kitchen table, staring at Dad's old documents. "He left it to you for a reason," she said firmly. "Not to be trampled on, not to be stolen." Her words planted something in me. A seed. For the first time, I realized I didn't have to stay silent. I didn't have to accept being erased. High school passed in a blur of hard work and determination. Every cruel memory from that house fueled me. Every insult, every empty chair at family dinners I wasn't invited to. I threw myself into studies, sports, scholarships. I refused to let their rejection define me. By the time I walked across the stage at graduation, diploma in hand, I felt untouchable. I had survived what they tried to destroy in me. And with each success, the thought grew louder. It's time to take back what's mine. That summer, I began gathering everything: Dad's will, the deed, every paper that proved the house wasn't Mom's or Greg's. It was mine. The lawyer confirmed what I already knew. The will was ironclad. The locksmith arrived on a crisp morning. As I held the new keys in my hand, a strange calm settled over me. This wasn't revenge. This was restoration. The day I returned to the house, the air felt different, lighter, sharper, like it was waiting for me. The front yard was littered with toys that weren't mine, bikes leaning against the porch rail as if the past few years had tried to overwrite everything Dad had built. But the deed in my bag reminded me this wasn't theirs. It never had been. I slipped the new key into the lock, the click echoing louder than thunder. When the door swung open, the living room looked almost unrecognizable. Greg's recliner, Lily's art projects on the walls, Jason's sneakers scattered across the floor. But beneath all of it, I could still see the bones of my father's home, and now it was mine again. By the time Mom came home from work, I was already inside. She froze in the doorway, groceries slipping from her arms, her face paling as she saw me standing there. "Emma, what are you doing here?" I held up the papers. "Coming home. Legally, this house belongs to me. You've had years." "It's over," her lips trembled. "You can't just take it from us. This is where we live." Before I could answer, Greg stormed in, his face red with fury. "This is ridiculous. You're just a spoiled brat waving papers around. You think you can throw us out? We've made this house ours." "Correction," I said, my voice steady. "You squatted in what was mine. You erased my father's memory and tried to erase me too. But I'm done being erased." The shouting drew Lily and Jason. Lily's eyes darted to Mom before she spoke, her voice trembling. "Emma, please. I just found out I'm pregnant. You can't kick us out now. Where will we go?" It was the perfect card to play, the guilt, the pressure. For a second, my chest tightened. But then I remembered all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep in that house, all the times they had laughed while I ate alone, all the moments they had pushed me out of my own family. I shook my head. "Your choices aren't my responsibility. My father's legacy isn't a safety net for you. You all wanted me gone. Now it's your turn to leave." Relatives started showing up, an aunt, a cousin, drawn by the drama. Some scolded me, calling me cruel, heartless. Others stood silently, unwilling to take sides. But I didn't need their approval. For the first time, I didn't flinch. Mom's voice cracked, sharp with venom. "After everything I've done for you, you'd throw me out like garbage? You're just like your father, selfish." I looked at her then, really looked at her. The woman who once held me when I was scared now stood like a stranger. And maybe she always had been. "No, Mom," I said softly. "I'm not selfish. I'm strong, because he taught me to be." Her face hardened, but she had no answer. 2 weeks later, they were gone. The house was quiet again, stripped of their chaos. I sat on the porch with my grandparents.